Is it time to avoid Derrick Henry in drafts? What NFC South tight end could be in for a breakout in 2018? And what receivers finished in 2017 isn't matching up with their ADP this season? Plus, a former Football Guys Players Championship League winner who nearly auto-drafted his way to a $250,000 grand prize, Clay Corcoran, will join the show to talk about his $9,000 sixth-place finish in the 2018 FPC. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
What more can I say? We top billing it. Stallion without billing it. Viciously found victory. Burnt towns and villages. Burning, looting, and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us. We curse them and all that killing. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free. I am barely giving up away. So tell begging Johnny and mommy to get the away. Yo, here's a gun, son. Now run. Get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody speaks.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football. He is the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, we will briefly touch on one rookie quarterback's surprising NFL Combine performance and discuss why last year's wide receiver 26 isn't being drafted until the 13th round so far this season. Plus, sixth-place FPC finisher Clay Corcoran will join us in just a little bit to talk about what it was like managing an auto-drafted team nearly to a $250,000 grand prize payday, plus his thoughts on Amir Abdullah, Marquise Goodwin's extension, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. You can post any questions you might have in there if you want to connect with us on Twitter. The show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. Our Facebook location is facebook.com/HSFF Hour. You can also go to our show website, hsffhour.com. If you want to chime in and talk with us tonight, please do. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVER. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now's the time to send them in. Our producer and mutual friend Rob and our audio engineer Bryce will get those to us in the fantasy feedback segment coming up at the bottom of the hour. A couple of things I want to point out at the top of the show. If you were not aware, we've been live at myffpc.com with best balls, classics, super flexes, for roughly, a month or so, right around there. Starting at $35 on up, you can jump in on the drafting action at $77 level, $250 level as well. Some double ups are up on there too if you wanted to try those out this year, 100% payout on those. MyFFPC.com is where to go. You can also go there to register for some Dynasty startups. Yes, that's right, I said startups. Starting at $77 there, going on all the way up to a $5,000 Dynasty League, which we're doing for the first time this year. Only 11 more spots to fill for that one. We already have one team signed up for it. So we'll find out what happens when that fills. That is going to be a fantastic Dynasty draft to follow over the next few years. Again, myffpc.com is where you can sign up for those Dynasty startups. And there are some orphans, Dynasty orphans out there still. Some were just added over the last couple of days. Some good deals on those. So check those out, myffpc.com. Rotoviz.com/podcast is where you can download the latest episode of the Rotoviz High Stakes Lowdown with yours truly and Aunt Jemima himself, John Terry, a longtime FFPC Dynasty player and a Dynasty champ, a guy who's won several of the 500 leagues more than once. Great stuff on there. It is pretty much, if I can recap it, we get into a little bit of stuff on Jarvis Landry, get into some stuff on Devin Funchess, but the rest of it, honestly, is all rookie running backs, rookie receivers, rookie tight ends, so a lot of great stuff there from one of the best out there, John Terry. So check that out, rotoviz.com/podcast. Dave, I had the show all prepped with Rob this afternoon, and then the Browns decided to start their work week on Friday afternoon, culminating 3 trades today. 3. Trades are rare in the NFL. To have 3 of them on one day is rare. To have 3 of them by the same team is ultra rare unless we are living in the movie Draft Day, which I am not convinced we're not.
It seems like we might be.
It was
insane. They're running their own dynasty team.
Jarvis Landry is a Brown.
Yes.
Tyrod Taylor is a Brown.
Yep.
And Deshaun Kaiser is just got Aaron Rodgers out of a job.
Poor Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to go now. Maybe Buffalo. They need a guy there.
He's a good cold-blooded quarterback.
You had some thoughts on these trades today, and I did not ask for them before the show because I wanted to have them organic on the show. Talk a little bit about, and I don't know if these thoughts are about how the Browns are running their franchise or if there's a fantasy commentary. I'm against my better judgment. I'm sort of just going to let you go here.
Whatever, Malky.
Go ahead. Your thoughts on these deals that went down.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the Kaiser for the cornerback, the Packers trade. I'm going to leave that one alone a little bit because it's a player for a player and whatever. But I mean, okay, so Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
So I'm reading now that he's not even guaranteed to sign a long-term extension. He might just play out the year and see what happens.
Yep.
So they already had Corey Coleman.
Yes.
Unproven young guy, but high draft pick.
Second rounder.
He's been injured the last 2 years with kind of freaky injuries.
Yeah.
So then, Josh Gordon coming off the drug thing or whatever, and he's seemingly fine.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you need another receiver like Landry for? I don't really get that. So okay, fine. You give away the draft pick for that. And that,
2 draft picks.
2 drafts. It's pretty cheap, granted, but I mean you don't even know if you're going to keep them. And then
cheap as far as draft picks go, but
right.
In order for this guy to be an asset for your franchise going forward, you're going to have to pay him a lot of money.
Exactly. And is this team going to win the Super Bowl or compete this year for it? No, of course not. And so then you give away the 65th pick overall for Tyrod Taylor, who the Bills actively wanted to give away for like less than 0 last year.
May have ended up cutting him.
Yeah, they didn't like him. I mean, that is a god awful trade. I mean, the 65th draft pick is a valuable capital. And Taylor's a free agent after the season too. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
I know that for fantasy purposes, people are getting excited, but on the same token,
should they?
I don't think they should.
Right.
So I think so now you have Njoku.
Yep.
You have Corey Coleman, Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, and probably Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
I mean,
Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson has a third down back who maybe not, maybe we'll get time, maybe not.
40, 50 catches.
So Tyrod Taylor is like the only guy that I'm looking at like really benefiting here. I mean, what do you do with Njoku? I can't feel good about him. What option is he in the passing game?
No.
Josh Gordon, I'm a little bit less excited about.
Yep.
Landry's going to get over the middle work. Corey Coleman, I'm not interested in anymore at all. And Landry, I mean, who knows? When receivers change teams, they usually drop in performance like 10, 20%. Mm-hmm. So, great job.
Josh Gordon, here's
all the things. I'm sorry, all the things that happen. Everyone's going to be all about this. So these guys will probably all get overdrafted.
This reminds me, and I can't believe I'm saying this, of the Patriots a few years ago,
mm-hmm.
where there was all these guys, Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, Brandon Lloyd, Wes Welker, all being drafted super high. We knew one of them was going to bust.
Yep.
We didn't know which one. It ended up being Brandon Lloyd.
Yep.
This could be a certain situation, David. Maybe not just one of them bust. Maybe they all do. Now, the ADP is going to change based on this, but I'll tell you this. Josh Gordon had a pretty significant part of the receiving pie. Duke Johnson did last year. I don't know how it was going to be this year. Saquon Barkley, you would figure, would have a significant portion of that. David Njoku taking a sophomore step forward, you would think he would have a decent amount. You'd like to think that Corey Coleman, a guy they invested a second-round pick into, would also play a big role in that. And Jarvis Landry caught 100 passes basically every single year of his career.
Right.
I don't think that pie is going to get bigger or big enough where all these guys are going to represent good in fantasy investments this year. And frankly, if I owned any of these guys in Dynasty, remember we talked about maybe Jarvis Landry's role doesn't change a whole lot. I think it did. Or his fantasy value doesn't change a whole lot. I think it did. And I'm not thrilled as a Landry owner in one of my leagues with this. I was hoping he would go to a place like Baltimore where they literally have nobody who can catch passes. Cleveland, there's too much talent there. I don't like this for fantasy. Should be good for the Browns as far as their passing attack goes. It's definitely got more, sharp, jagged teeth this year than it did last year, and is basically toothless. I'm not thrilled with this at all.
I mean, for Barkley's sake, you're not going to see it in the box, assuming that they do draft him. So that's a big benefit.
Right.
But, Tyrod Taylor, he threw for 2,800 yards last year on 14 starts because he got benched in that one game. 14 total touchdowns. Granted, the receivers were even close to his talent as what he's going to have here.
Yep.
But he's just not that great of a player. I mean, the 62% completion percentage, I mean, that's okay.
Not that great of a player, but a guy I'm interested in getting business, as Farrell Elliott from the KFFSC would say, I'm interested in getting into business with him for fantasy this year.
We'll see. I mean, he doesn't, it seems like he's this guy who's supposed to rush for, he only ran for 256 yards last year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like this.
With all the talented receivers.
I like this for Tyrod Taylor. I'm not a huge fan of it for the rest of the Browns. We've done enough.
He's not going to be cheap. He'll be more.
Tyrod Taylor, you think he's going to get pushed up? You think a Browns quarterback is going to be overdrafted this year?
Oddly enough, I do.
It could happen, I guess.
Calm down, everybody. The Browns, they still kind of suck.
You know what?
We're supposed to block them.
After what we saw, what the Browns pulled off today, clearly the world's ending today or tomorrow. So enjoy it, people, because it's all going to come to a crashing end. Not before we get to bring in tonight's guest, though. Due to unforeseen circumstances, he missed his 2017 FPC draft, had the entire roster auto-drafted. But it wasn't a problem to get some cash out of it, as he managed it all the way up to, not sixth place in his league, sixth place overall. Out of more than 7,000 teams en route to a $9,000 prize. He's dropping into the show right now to tell us all about it. Please welcome in Mr. Clay Corcoran. Clay, thanks so much for joining the show tonight, man. Really appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's exciting stuff. So you already had an exciting evening tonight because you were receiving an award for your career tonight. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm a teacher at a local university here in Central Florida, and had a banquet to attend and got a little recognition there, but I made it back. I've got a sick wife at home and 2 kids, but hopefully I can get through this 25 minutes here with you guys, talk a little fantasy football.
Nothing like whetting the appetite for some fantasy football in March. So we're definitely thankful that we can, hopefully give you a little bit of a respite here and take your mind off things.
Real quick, what do you teach?
I teach people how to take X-rays, actually. Been doing that. I'm a licensed X-ray tech. Been doing it for about 15 years. Claim to fame is I took an X-ray on Cadillac Williams once when he blew out his patella, and his patella was supposed to be on the anterior perspective, and it was more on like the lateral medial perspective. Oh. So when you got his X-ray, did you just go like, you look at it and you're like, oh damn,
I got to trade this guy in Dynasty right now.
Did you try like total poker face with
we
the
can't tell the patients anything, so we have to kind of keep it a secret, even though we know what's going on. The doctor's got to be the one that comes in and tells them the prognosis. So we have to kind of keep our mouth shut, even though I saw exactly what was going on there.
Yeah, exactly. They've seen like tens of thousands of these. They all know exactly. They know what's up. Anyway. Yeah. All right, back to football. So the night of the auto-drafted team, first of all, what happened? Secondly, did our commissioners try and get a hold of you? Because I have to just doing a little bit of labor check here to make sure that we're doing our jobs. And what did you think of the team when you took a look at it afterward?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was completely my fault. You guys did nothing wrong. I have a 4-year-old son that got sick that night, and usually I don't intend to draft till like 10 or 11 o'clock till everybody's asleep, and he happened to get sick, and I had to take care of him. So I it was kind of one of those moments where you decide, well, what's more important in the grand scheme of things, fantasy football or taking care of your family? And I had to choose my family for a brief moment.
That's awesome.
After I saw the team, I was, the first 3 rounds are pretty much exactly how I would have picked them. Got Antonio Brown, Hopkins, and Gurley. Totally happy with that. After that, went pretty downhill. So I probably would have picked different guys after that. But, I kind of, the reason why I'm not too down about auto-drafting is when I pick my own guys, I kind of get attached to them, and if they start sucking, I have trouble letting them go. But when I have an auto-drafted team, then, I'm not too bad. It's not too bad, it's not too hard to let them go if they start doing bad and picking up other guys, which can actually work to your advantage, as it did for me in this case.
Yeah, I like that.
No emotional attachment. That's what it's all about. Just cold-hearted analytics. That's what gets it done. That's what got it done for Clay here. You obviously hit the waiver wire, man, hard. You picked up difference makers like Kenyon Drake was a massive difference maker down the stretch. Adam Shaheen, obviously in a tight end premium format, he came through for you too. And others, your team just caught fire, I believe, starting in November. What was that like when you saw this team just really turn it on? And when did you start thinking that, hey, I got a shot at this $250,000?
Yeah, it was about November when it started really clicking. By that time, I only had 6 of the original players that had been auto-drafted for me. I counted 14 of them that I had picked up off the waivers, and I was just, I looked at the upcoming matchups, and I thought, well, I could actually win this league. And that was kind of my goal at that point, was to win the league, and I did, obviously. And then after the first week in the playoffs, I was sitting in 40th place, and I thought, well, I might have a shot at actually winning a little bit of money here. And then after the second week, I was sitting in week 15, I was sitting in second place, and looking at my matchups, I'm like, holy cows, I could actually win this whole thing. But a couple injuries. I had Antonio Brown on my team, and he went down.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Rex Burkhead, who had kind of carried me from week 12 to about 15. He went down. And then I knew I was kind of, facing an upper hill challenge there. But, I came home 6th place when it was all said and done. And while I'd like to win the $250,000, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I got to tell you, to my knowledge, nobody has ever had an auto-drafted team and managed it all the way better than everybody else in the contest except for 5 teams. So certainly hang your head on that. And for the listeners, too, who don't know this, Clay actually emailed me, as his team was really turning it on, and he'd say like, hey, I snuck into the league class this week. They start, wish me luck. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. You could actually win your league, doing this auto draft. And then you had won, and then the championship round started, and then you're in 60th, and then you're in 40th, and then you're in 2nd. And I'm giving Dave updates on this every week. I'm like, hey, that guy who auto drafted, he's in 2nd place overall, right? And it just, I can't remember when we ceased being amazed by it, but at that point it was just like, look, anything's possible. This team could actually win it all, and what a story it would have been. Seriously, 6th overall too is certainly something to be very proud of. And Dave, Clay has a previous experience with auto drafting as well here.
Yeah, so this wasn't your first auto drafted team, from what I'm reading. But it's also not the first time you won an FPC league with an auto-drafted team. Is that actually correct?
Yeah. So life happens, and I've had a couple other auto-drafted teams, and I've learned, sometimes it's kind of like that theory that, the best chess players in the world can't beat the computers. I feel like maybe the best fantasy football players in the world can't actually beat the computers either. So maybe the auto draft is the way to go. I don't know if I really.
Can I interrupt you real quick? We don't have IBM Watson working here on the auto draft, by the way.
No, we don't.
There's no super intelligence back here. I think it's David Dodds and a couple of guys throwing together an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand, but anyway, so it's not like I really intend to ever auto draft a team, but things happen, and I kind of reluctantly condone it once in a while, and I work with it, and I had 6 football guys teams this year, and the only one that won the championship was the one that was auto drafted. So go figure.
That's awesome. I'm actually, next time that happens to someone else, because Clay, you're always seemingly pretty cool about it, and they're complaining about it. I'll be like, hey, we had a guy.
Don't tell me it's not possible.
We had a guy who finished, 6th overall.
Aces Rebels in the chat tonight, Clay, our good friend Lexus, he's calling you the fantasy football miracle worker, which I think is a new nickname, definitely a moniker that you should be carrying. Let's look ahead to this year. Hopefully, no auto drafted teams are in your future, but. A guy that is being selected pretty high in drafts right now, Derrick Henry, is going at the 302, and his ADP is actually going to probably rise a little bit now, given that, 36 hours ago, DeMarco Murray was informed that he will be released as a member of the Tennessee Titans. How concerned are you that he might actually rise to be going too high in drafts, given that Tennessee could still add a pass-catching running back that would come in on third down, Sir Henry? We know that Derrick Henry isn't exactly a 60, 70 pass-catching monster in the past. I don't know what you think of him going forward, but talk a little bit about the spot in the draft that you would still be comfortable drafting Derrick Henry, given this opportunity in front of him.
Well, sure. Actually, I think I was a year ahead on Derrick Henry because the drafts that weren't auto drafts, he was one of the guys I targeted in the middle rounds because I thought for sure he was going to outplay DeMarco Murray at some point and take over the lead role. It never happened last year, but obviously it's going to happen this year. I kind of look at him, he kind of reminds me of Jamal Lewis back in like the late 90s, early 2000s when he had his 2,000-yard rushing year. So I kind of look at him like that. I don't know that any running back's going to get 2,000 yards ever again, but that's who I like to compare him to. And, for me, I'm not afraid to take him as early as probably late first round, second round now.
He's a throwback, Dave. Derrick Henry's a total throwback, a guy with a early 2000s, late 1990s game that's still producing with what he's got, and he's obviously in for a monster year. Do you like Derrick Henry in the second round this year? Just curious.
I don't know about the second round.
We haven't talked about him a whole lot.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually just looking him up because I haven't won Dynasty, and
flip him.
I was thinking about it actually. It's like
for the 101.
Second round for a guy who doesn't catch passes, or he'll catch a number of them, maybe 25 or something like that. It's a little bit. I'm a little nervous.
I'll tell you what happens if they don't add a guy in a pass catcher in the second or third round. What happens if they add a pass catching back on like day 3? Now all of a sudden Derrick Henry gets a lot more interesting.
But is he all of a sudden to catch 58 passes or something?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Maybe Corey Davis.
And, don't forget
we all know that's
Flores
going to
came
happen.
over from the Rams, too. So, he worked with Gurley last year, so maybe he can turn Henry into another Gurley this year, is what I'm thinking.
Excellent point.
The Frenchman Lafleur.
Yes, Lafleur. Getting, getting them the wine and the baguettes into his system. That's what turns bruising running backs into pass catchers.
And the French fries.
For sure. Yeah, exactly.
So going back to the FFPC ADP right now is newly extended and got a lot of money in his pocket there. Mike Evans just got an extension today.
5 years, $82 million.
Oh, man, good for him. And AJ Green.
I'm getting a similar deal from the FFPC. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh, yeah? 5 years. 82,000?
Yeah, it's
for the 5?
Yeah, just divide that by 100 and you're right around there.
So Mike Evans and AJ Green are pretty close to each other in ADP. AJ Green did not get an extension. Which guy would you rather have this season?
To me, those two guys are, it's pretty much a coin toss, but where they're going is awesome. They've been kind of perennially top, first round guys, maybe top 10 guys or so, and all of a sudden they're late second rounds. I would have no trouble taking those guys over, anybody that's going around the same area, like Devontae Freeman or Gronk or Zach Ertz, even Tyreek Hill. I like them better than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's too up and down for me, but I think both of them are going to be going to have some bounce back years. They kind of underperformed last year, but I expect both of them to have some bounce back years this year. So I'd go with either one of those guys, whichever one's available at the end of the second round. I'd take them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Clay, there's a lot of receivers that were going in the first round last year that you can get in the second this year because of all those running backs getting pushed up. You look at, I think there's like 9 running backs going in the first round right now. Gurley, Bell, Elliott, Johnson, Kamara, Hunt, Barkley, Fournette, and Gordon. So, guys that were going in the first round last year. Julio Jones, Michael Thomas at the end of the first, Mike Evans, AJ Green. I mean, these guys can all be had in the second round. You might even see, we've seen in FFPC drafts so far that Evans and Green have lasted the third in some best ball drafts. So those running backs that are being selected in the first round, they're getting you some good value in the second round for sure. Clay Corcoran is our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Had his team auto-drafted, but he switched around the makeup of it and managed it all the way to 6th overall and a $9,000 prize. Marquise Goodwin got a little bit more than a $9,000 prize recently from the San Francisco 49ers. He is locked up there for the next 3 years, catching passes from Jimmy Garoppolo, and he looked awesome after Garoppolo took over. When Garoppolo took over last year, Marquise Goodwin, for those, I think it was 9 weeks or 8 or 9 weeks, he was the wide receiver 17 in that time, so he looked absolutely phenomenal. And granted, that was without Pierre Garçon too, but still, he's going at the 11:02 right now in FFPC drafts. Clay, would you be taking Marquise Goodwin higher than that, given what he did last year?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I can't even believe when I saw the ADP list, I couldn't believe he's going in the 11th round. That just seems way too low to me, even with Pierre Garçon coming back. And, I've read a couple of mock drafts where they're thinking about taking the guy out of Alabama, Calvin Ridley, possibly in the first round. Even if that happens, I mean, Goodwin's such a huge deep threat, and I just don't see with Garoppolo there and how good they're playing at the end of the year there. I don't understand why he's an 11th round pick. He should be more, at least 3-4 rounds higher, in my opinion.
I'm gonna put this out here, Dave, and Clay, feel free to disagree with me. I think if Marquise Goodwin was slower, he'd be drafted higher. Honestly, no, and the reason
he's too fast.
He's too fast because everybody thinks, he's just a speed guy. This is sort of like he's 28 years old. It's not like he just got in the league. A lot of people have always thought this of Marquise Goodwin.
Well, because he sucked the entire time he's been in the NFL
until Kyle Shanahan took over and was like, look, we're not going to use him as a speed guy. We're going to actually give this guy real routes, and he's going to be a real receiver. And he was wide receiver 17 when he's given the opportunity. So I think that if
he had a lot of touchdowns. He had 2.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns in the whole year.
And he was still wide receiver 17.
For Jimmy, I'm better than Brady now. Garoppolo,
right.
Mr. Handsome West Coast hunk,
So
Jimmy Garoppolo,
2
touchdowns.
Yes, so 2 touchdowns. So just think about if that regresses positively, which it should this coming year.
That's progressive.
Progressive? No, you can't. That's not the way you use that term.
How do you regress upwards?
You regress positively or negatively. He's in for a positive touchdown regression.
Look at stats textbooks.
That's fine. Go ahead and do it. But I'm just telling you this right now. I think if Marquise, I think that everybody thinks he is so fast, he's a speed guy. If he was actually slower, he would be drafted higher. Anyway, let's move on to tight ends. Yes.
That's a good theory.
That's interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
You should put that on a Robo-Viz article or something.
Yeah, maybe I will. Just I'll let Joe Pano, last week's guest, I'll let him know, and he can write it up.
Yeah, you can steal it on him.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Clay. So who's going to have the better sophomore season in 2018 at tight end? OJ. We're not going to ask about Evan Ingram because that would be cheating.
Right.
OJ Howard or David Njoku, one of 18 target monsters over there in
Cleveland. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I say about that is, I live in the Tampa area and I listen to nothing but Tampa sports radio in the morning. And, the message coming out of One Buck Place about O.J. Howard just seems like he's kind of a slacker. I don't know that the teams are real happy with him. He's got the talent, but I just don't know, the talent isn't all you need. You need the motivation and the personality, too. I don't really know too much about Njoku, to tell you the truth, but I'm assuming that Cleveland's probably going to draft a quarterback in the first round. And, whether that's Darnold or one of the other guys is to be seen. But I always think that rookie quarterbacks tend to use their tight ends as kind of a safety blanket. So I think I like Njoku a little bit better because of that reason. But it's kind of one of those things you got to wait and see how the draft plays out. But, yeah, I'm not liking the vibe I'm hearing about O.J. Howard down here.
So that's the question. I know it's pretty hot in Tampa, right? So you guys have had this problem. You had this problem with Austin Sperry and Jenkins. Now you have O.J. Howard.
Oh yeah.
Jenkins was drinking all the time. Is it just too hot? Is it stifling heat down there in Tampa? I mean, I know
makes them go crazy.
January, February, March is no problem. It's beautiful, but it gets a little humid. What's the story?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not used to it, it takes some getting used to for sure. I've lived down. I'm originally from Nebraska, but I've lived down here for about 15 years now, and man, it takes some getting used to. So and especially just for me, I'm walking out to my mailbox and sweating. I can't imagine having full football pads on if you grew up in Minnesota or something, coming down to Tampa. So it's definitely a different climate down here, and it takes some getting used to.
I'm just thinking about
I
this.
like the humidity.
But look at the recent history of Tampa tight end. You had Cameron Braid, who obviously was very good, but then you had we already mentioned O.J. Howard, and maybe there's some performance and motivation issues with him. ASJ obviously played his way out of town. Wasn't Kellen Winslow a Tampa tight end too?
That's true, and the weather was the same.
Yeah.
Well, one way to argue it's a little bit hotter now,
right.
but still pretty darn close.
Yeah. So I don't know. They just the tight ends in Tampa just. For whatever reason, there's issues, and now I gotta find a trade partner for O.J. Howard in Dynasty. I know. This is great. I'm so glad we get to do this show, get this inside information, and dump O.J. Howard.
That actually is kind of insightful.
It is very insightful. Let's get to some emails here for Clay that we received from listeners, and he can offer some insight on those as well. Bill in Dayton, Ohio, what are your thoughts on the likelihood that Kenyon Drake is the featured running back in Miami this season? Thanks, Clay. That is Bill in Dayton, Ohio. Bill, thank you for the email. Kenyon Drake, obviously we talked about him earlier at the top of the show. Crushed it down the stretch last year. I haven't heard any hot rumors that Miami's looking for a running back in the first couple of rounds of the draft, or if they're tied to any potential free agent running backs out there. So it looks like it's Drake's show right now. Clay, what's your feeling on how that opportunity is going to last for him this year?
That's pretty much identical to how I feel. The draft's going to be the tall tale of that story, but right now Drake looks like the feature guy. Who knows? There's some good running backs coming out in the draft. I don't know where Miami's going to go for sure, but right now I think Drake. Going in, he looks like he's going in third or fourth round, late third, fourth, early fourth round is about right. But that could change in a heartbeat, in the draft or free agency coming up too.
Yeah, if you are looking for trying to hit on some value, if the Dolphins just bring in like a complimentary piece, or if they bring Damian Williams back and it's the Drake and Williams show back there again, Drake in the fourth round.
Not the Williams is going to be.
Well, I'm just saying, he was the other guy back there last year.
You know what's going to happen.
Okay, what's going to happen?
Miami's management sucks, right?
Right.
So Drake looked good.
Uh-huh.
So he's gone. He's definitely good enough to start. So they're obviously going to draft someone. Because they don't need to really draft someone. They need other players. They need something else. So they're going to draft someone to replace one of the better positions they have on the team.
Yeah.
And too early, probably, too.
They just traded their best receiver. Let's get somebody to play in front of our best running back.
Right, and then they're going to draft Baker Mayfield and somehow turn him into a bust.
Or a running back.
Right,
I can see that happening, too.
Bunch of idiots.
Randy in Sanford, North Carolina writes, will Amir Abdullah ever get it in the NFL, or is he simply a guy to move away from going forward until he shows something? Thank you for the email. That's Randy in Sanford, North Carolina. Clay, your thoughts on Amir Abdullah from a fantasy perspective right now on the Detroit Lions?
Well, for me, I grew up in Nebraska, and Amir Abdullah is a fellow Husker. He's been disappointing to me in the NFL. I really thought he was going to be a superstar. He's got the injury bug lately. That Linsfrank injury he had a year ago, I think was still nagging him last year. I hate to say it, but I think the Lions are probably going to throw in the towel on him. I don't really see him being successful in the NFL, as much as I hate to say that.
Dave, you've never been in a big – you kind of were on Amir Abdullah.
I like Abdullah a lot his rookie year, and he just unfortunately has not done much of anything. It's too bad.
Going at the 1901 in best ball drafts right now, I think I could get behind that.
I can get behind that for sure. That's cheap.
So as long as he's going there, that's something we can get behind. We can also get behind one more question for Clay Corcoran tonight, Dave, our guest tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
All right, Clay, so looking ahead to this coming year, who is a player you're going to be staying away from in the first few rounds, and a guy that you think will be flying under the radar in 2018? Balky and I use this question to make our draft boards look pretty.
Well, I've got two guys that I'm avoiding, actually, in the first two rounds based on the ADP that I was looking at earlier. And the first is Odell Beckham. That just makes me nervous. The Giants just seem like they're in turmoil. I watched the replay of that injury he had in the preseason, and then they tried to play him on that. It's just I just don't like the whole situation there with Odell, so I'm not going to draft him. He's too risky. He's going late first round, which there's too much risk involved. There's too many other quality players that are much less risky that I'm going to take at that point. And then the other guy that I don't like is LaShawn McCoy. He turns 30 in July, and it's a well-known fact what happens to running backs after they turn 30. And Buffalo's used him a lot over the past few years, so it's not like he doesn't have a lot of tread. So those are two guys that I'm going to avoid in pretty much all my drafts.
What
I
happens?
like the Beckham one.
What happens to running backs?
And nothing against the other one.
Right. What happens to running backs when they turn 30 is the same thing that happened to me when I turned 20. Just my body fell apart.
You always virginity.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to that. I'm only a couple years away. It's not gonna be fun. Is there a guy, Clay, that you like maybe deeper in the draft that you'll be targeting as far as like a value right now? A guy that you'll be targeting, like, look, I'm going to try to get this guy in the double-digit rounds, or is there anybody that stands out right now, or not?
Yeah, there's a couple I was looking at ADP. First of all, Cameron Meredith, way deep in the draft. Man, he looked so good with Jay Cutler 2 years ago, and then they traded Alshon Jeffrey, and he was going to be the lead guy last year. Got hurt in preseason. He's going to be back. And I think that's all that Trubisky needs is a good wide receiver. So, he didn't have that with the guys he had last year. So I look for him to be a real good value late in the draft. And then the other guy I saw that I think Gruden's going to make a huge difference is Amari Cooper, who's going in the 4th round. I think he's going to be back to a 2nd or 1st round talent with Gruden behind the helm, hopefully anyway. And if Derek Carr stays there too. So those are the two guys that I had highlighted when I was looking at the ADP.
I like it. The Amari Cooper, I'm behind it 100% for sure. So that's good stuff. Listen, Clay, this is a lot of fun having you on tonight and talking to you about both last year and then as we look forward to this year. Always fun to pick your brain, especially since you are the waiver wire genius that has been able to make over some auto drafted teams and turn them into some pretty dominant forces. So congrats on the success last year. Congrats on the success this evening for your award. And listen, take care of your family, man. You chose family over fantasy football once, this past year, and your team got auto drafted. And karma looked down on you. The fantasy gods blessed you with a 6th place overall finish. So certainly a warm story, and we always like hearing those on the show tonight. Thanks so much for joining us, man. We really appreciated it.
You bet. Thanks for having me, and I wish you guys the best of luck, and hopefully next year when you're interviewing me, I'll be the $250,000 winner.
Yeah. Love it. Can't wait for it. Thanks, Clay. Have a great night, man.
You bet. Take care.
Clay Corcoran, ladies and gentlemen. He is the 6th place finisher in the Football Guys Players Championship. Did it via auto drafting. God bless it.
You sound a little bit like a preacher.
Really?
Yeah, give him the benediction over there when you're letting him go. God bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you. Grant your peace. See you later.
Honestly, that's what the fantasy gods did that. I heard an interesting thing on the ESPN Fantasy Focus podcast that came out today. Wanted to share it with you and get your thoughts on it.
Great.
From a dynasty standpoint, Dave, have you looked at the receivers, first-round NFL receivers over the last 3 years?
Oh, this past year was god-awful.
I will make the point that the past few years have not really been good at all.
And the problem is because the 2014 season was so amazing with all those stars.
Okay, now you can make that argument. It was great.
Everyone was expecting
Watkins, Beckham, Evans. Yeah. Who else am I forgetting in that draft? Allen Robinson.
Brandon
Cooks, yep.
Yeah. There's probably still a couple others.
Look at the last 3 years since then.
Woof.
Since the Bothell year.
So, okay, wait, can I throw some names out there?
Well, can we just...
Go ahead, you just do it the way you want to do it.
I want to do it the way I want to do it. So last year, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross.
Crap, and changing positions.
All top 10 overall picks. And it was not good.
What a train wreck.
There were 4 first-round receivers in 2016. Corey Coleman, Will Fuller, Josh Doxson, Laquan Treadwell.
My gosh.
Really bad again, right?
Treadwell. Coleman.
Yep.
Who is it?
Fuller and Doxson.
Fuller. So Fuller is the best of them so far.
Yeah.
And Meyer, Fuller's like the type of guy that Meyer tries to pass around.
I know.
Like a third-round pick.
Village bicycle. There were 6 first-round receivers in 2015. The first of them, 4th overall, Amari Cooper. I think we can get behind him.
Maybe.
Okay, relatively to the rest of this
He's been
group.
up and down, but yes.
Listen to the rest of this crowd from 2015. Kevin White, Devontae Parker.
He's terrible.
Nelson Aguilar,
Go somewhere else.
Brashad Perriman, and Philip Dorsett.
Oh, man.
Can you make the argument that the bust rate for first-round receivers is actually much higher than the bust rate for first-round running backs?
Oh, yeah, you sure can.
I mean, we were ripping on first-round running backs being...
Right, last week.
Yeah. The receivers for the last 3 years, how many Dynasty owners have quit playing Dynasty over picking one of these guys in the first round?
I mean, I would say the jury is obviously still out on Corey Davis and Mike Williams, and even, I swallow hard and I could say John Ross, but I don't like them at all. I think the jury's gone. But I would say Corey Davis, to me, is the only one out of those. I don't think Mike Williams is going to do anything.
Right.
Corey Coleman is now one of 5 guys on that offense. Yeah. I mean, Kevin White's talking about coming back.
Yeah.
But I mean, even
still rehabbing a shoulder
injury.
injury.
Crazy long shot with him.
Can we go back to 2013 to cement this point even more?
Yeah.
8th overall pick, Tavon Austin. 19 picks later, Houston took somebody named DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then Cordarrelle Patterson, 2 picks after that.
Oof.
Yeah.
Woof.
Let's go to 2012, Dave, and look at first-round receivers. Justin Blackmon, Michael Floyd, Kendall Wright, and I kid you not, A.J. Jenkins. Who?
Oh.
That's right, A.J. Jenkins.
Wow. I can't, I look at all these guys. I can't believe I even have productive receivers on my team.
You look at 2011. One of these things is not like the other. A.J. Green, Julio Jones, and Jonathan Baldwin.
Oh, my goodness.
So that was actually pretty good.
So, I mean, that's a reason right there where if you could trade away, let's say...
2010, by the way, just to interrupt
yeah.
you. Demarius Thomas, Des Bryant. Okay.
That's fine, yeah. But if you could trade away, let's say, like the 106 or 107, for someone who's just sick of like a guy like A.J. Green because he's getting old or whatever, I think, and granted, you probably can't do that. Let's say the 107 and the 207 for A.J. Green because they think they're going to draft some receiver at the 107 because the running back class is so deep.
Right.
Well, look at the odds of doing it versus getting however many years out of A.J. Green. Maybe not Des Bryant, I mean, he's getting kind of old. Or something like even a 104 for Julio or something like that, who I always crap on. It's tough to get top 20 receivers that are good.
Out of the last 6 years, for all the receivers that were taken, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is just first-round receivers. That's okay. So that's 1 out of 7. And then if you include the Boffo year of 2014, we can't include Allen Robinson because he was a second-round pick.
Right.
Would you say Kelvin Benjamin is a hit?
In this exercise, sure.
Okay. So that's
he's had a top 24 season. Or
so just actually to prove my point, let's take out 2014, just because everybody hit that year.
That's fine. But you really can't do that overall.
I'm going to because this is
your statistics.
It's bulk statistics. so we're gonna do it my way. So I would say 2 out of 13. I mean, what would you say in 2016? Is Will Fuller a hit?
No.
Okay, so then they're all whiffs there.
Yeah.
That's 2 out of 17. And
17 you can't really count.
2 out of 20, dude. Throw out the Boffo year of 2014.
Right.
There were 20 receivers taken in the first round since 2012. 2 of them have been hits.
Well, you throw 14 in. How many were drafted?
Well, that was 5 out of 5. So 7 out of 25.
That's still terrible.
Really bad.
Still terrible. 7 out of 25 is awful. So what can we do that's actionable about that?
Okay, here's what's actionable. Who are we super excited about at receiver this year? No one. I'm not. Are you?
Well, here's what I think. I think, you make trades like trying to grab Tyreek Hill last year after a decent year coming out, and you could get him for anywhere from the 106 to the 112. Tyreek Hill was available in trade, and people were giving him away for those prices.
Yeah.
And now you have a young receiver that's pretty much a stud, number 1 on his team, and you didn't have to pay up for it. You can get people after proving themselves to some extent.
Yep.
I don't know what would Juju cost? Probably a high first-round pick. But I mean, he's ranked in
you could probably get him at like the 106, 107.
Heading into today, Dynasty League football.
Maybe not this year.
Dynasty League football had Juju Smith-Schuster ranked about the same as Josh Gordon and about the same as Corey Davis. Corey Davis. Yeah. If I have in fact, I did do this in the league. I offered Corey Davis for Juju, and they turned me down. Mm-hmm. But I mean, someone might take you. I personally would never do it. I would always take Juju.
I think I might. But I already traded Juju Smith-Schuster.
So I'm just saying, he's proven at a super young age to be productive.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my take on it.
So here's the actionable thing that you do in Dynasty Drafts. You wait till you're on the clock, and if there's not a running back that you're really excited, well, first of all, if there's a receiver you're really excited about, then just take him. It's your team, not ours. But what I would do is if you're lukewarm about the position there, you're not really excited about any running, like just get a future first or trade out of that. It's just, or like add to your point, get a proven commodity that's maybe 23, 24, whatever. I would rather have a guy for 80%, 70% of his NFL career that, maybe I miss out on one of his really good years, but I'd rather have that than take this awful percentage with me of drafting a totally unproven, unknown guy.
Well, if you have like a mid-second round pick and your team is competitive, but you're just a piece or two short, trade for fifth. I mean, he's mid-second round. You're going to get 1 year out of him. I mean, you never know, maybe two or whatever, or somebody that people think is just too old.
Yeah.
Or trade for Dez. I mean, dude, I don't like Dez. I think he's, I think he's possibly done for, but there's a chance, there's probably a 25% chance he regresses to the upside, as you like to say.
There is a chance, yep.
And if nothing else, he's still a top 24 receiver last year.
Since I traded Dez Bryant and Blake Carrington, we have had 0 guests come on the show and say that their bust is Dez Bryant. Whereas every week before that, who's the guy you don't like this year? Dez Bryant, Balky. You can't get behind Dez Bryant.
I mean, no offense to those guys, but saying you don't like Dez Bryant's like saying you don't like Jerome Bettis this year. I mean, he's not, it's like a big deal.
I don't know.
Or Marshall Faulk or LT. It's like, it's just kind of it's a little bit easy.
Oh, I don't know how easy it is to say that. Okay, you're looking at.
I don't like a guy who's sucked this past year.
I guess he's still going in the late 5th, but by the way, he's going at the 5'10" right now. You know who's going at the 5'09"? Juju Smith-Schuster. Who would you rather have this year, Juju or Dez Bryant?
Juju.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have Antonio Brown to deal with, but I think Juju's going to be good. Yeah.
I think we're going to get into fantasy flash here. I want to thank Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. The this was lost in the shuffle. The Panthers actually acquired Torrey Smith from the Eagles.
There's a reason it was lost.
Darryl Worley, according to Adam Schefter on Twitter. Torrey Smith, 29 years old, 36 catches, 430 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year.
What a piece of crap.
Okay, so let's talk. You want to talk about the Eagles side or the Panthers side first with this trade?
I don't want to talk about Torrey Smith.
That's fine. That's fine.
He's terrible. He's not worth drafting or even discussing.
So let's talk about the Panthers side of this. Does this make you concerned that Carolina feels, we're good now? Like Funchess, Torrey Smith, Greg Olsen, McCaffrey, we don't really need to add a first or second round receiver.
No.
Do you think they still will?
Well, it's possible. I mean, if they don't, I'll feel way better about both Funchess and Funchess, especially McCaffrey to a lesser extent. Even Olsen, actually. I feel pretty good about drafting Olsen in redraft.
Yeah, I would feel all right about Olsen. I don't think this affects McCaffrey too much. Well, whether they add somebody or not.
It's the number of targets. It's like, what is he going to get, 70 targets or whatever?
I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah. Okay. Torrey Smith got 69 last year, by the way.
That's funny.
Yeah. Mac Hollins, you like him now as the third receiver in Philadelphia, or is he just covered up by Aguilar, Jeffrey, and Ertz?
I think Mac Hollins is a guy people talk about, but he might be a breakout for a while, and then he just goes away. I mean, I have him in one league, and I'm not really that excited about him. I mean, I have 25-man rosters, so it's just like he's just kind of sitting there.
He's there.
Yeah.
He's a jag.
I mean, there's a chance, I guess, but, not that excited about it.
Let's get some fireworks going here from Dave Gerzak. The Indianapolis Star expects the Colts and free agent Dante Moncrief to, quote, part ways for good. Roto World calls him a physical freak. Only 24 years old and is an inconsistency.
The freakishness is how unproductive he is.
The inconsistency could be attributed to Andrew Luck being out of action. Moncrief obviously also been dinged up the last few years. he's going to go to the open market. Dave, I saw your Twitter feed this week. You had some interesting thoughts on Dante Moncrief potentially breaking out this year in 2018.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, how many receivers are fifth-year breakouts? And that was my tweet.
Yeah.
It got a number of likes. But you know what? I'm going to contradict myself.
Okay.
Because I found an old. The article on Football Guys is so old that they didn't even date the sucker.
Okay.
But it names breakouts from 1989.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know.
Football Guys?
No, this is not from '89, but it's. Okay, this is from I think 2000 I think it's from 2002.
Okay.
Because one of the questions is, can we use this information to help predict who the breakout receivers are in 2003?
So 16 years ago this is from. Okay.
Good job. Good job keeping that alive.
Go ahead. Yep.
Fifth-year breakout. Now, keep in mind now that it's a lot of years later, so 15 years later, receivers break out faster. We can at least admit that.
Right.
Okay. But fifth-year breakouts, Hines Ward, Terrell Owens, Joe Horn, Westbrook, Terrence Mathis, Ernest Gibbons.
Oh, man, this is
taking
me back.
But that's a lot of really good players.
Okay, yeah, it is. But, again, I don't know. Terrell Owens didn't break out until his fifth year?
Evidently.
Boy, that's shocking to me.
Yeah.
That is really surprising.
Well, so anyway, the point, I guess, but when you look at the number, I mean, there's a lot more in the fourth year, and now, especially now, it's the second and third year. I don't see Moncrief breaking out in his fifth year.
Percentage chance Dante Moncrief is a top 20 receiver this year.
20.
I don't even think it's that high.
I'm kind of being there.
You know, we're going to look over how the receivers finished, and when you see some of the names in the top 20, maybe you'll be like, oh, maybe the percentage chance is actually a little bit higher than 20%, but that remains to be seen. Normally on this show, we don't like talking about rookie quarterbacks a whole lot for Dynasty because that is sort of like the sauce that goes on the ribs and the brisket of the meat of Dynasty Fantasy Football, which is running backs, receivers, and tight ends. But we're going to have a little sauce tonight, not too much sauce. But Lamar Jackson is somebody that we want to bring up. His fastest pass at the Scouting Combine came in at 49 miles an hour. This is data according to ourlads.com. Now, if this reminds you of anybody, Deshaun Watson last year also topped out at 49 miles an hour for his fastest combine throw. The mark this year for Lamar Jackson tied with Southern Florida Quentin Flowers for the slowest fastball among quarterbacks. By the way, Quentin Flowers not expected to play quarterback in the NFL, expected to be a running back or receiver. Jackson's velocity, not great, but probably not the end of the world given what Deshaun Watson did last year. Jack Hahn, our good friend Jack Hahn, been a guest on this show, a guy that we've hung out with in the NFL draft in Chicago for a few years now. He brought up the...
Which, by the way, you're dogging us for some personal cruise with your stupid wife.
Not talking about this. You know my feelings on the cruise and my
You know what,
feelings
you're
on
right.
the NFL draft.
You'd rather go to the draft. All right, go ahead.
So Jack Hahn sends us an email today and said, break out the T-Rex arm for Lamar Jackson. So, and then you had the snarky comment like, yes, velocity's everything. Look at Deshaun Watson last year. He sucks. So.
And by the way, I was officially crapping on Deshaun Watson because of his arm velocity.
Yes, you were, yeah.
I didn't draft him anywhere. I didn't get him in Dynasty anywhere.
No.
And look at where I sit.
Yeah.
In the pooper.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Let's not make that mistake twice, Bucky.
Yeah, sitting at the 112 in many of your drafts.
I really.
So anyway, you look at Lamar Jackson. You and I both like him.
A lot, yeah, I like him a lot.
For Dynasty and redraft purposes, Mike Clay, formerly of Pro Football Focus, now with ESPN, said this is a guy who's a top 10 quarterback if he gets drafted to be a starter this year. And honestly, don't really disagree with him at all.
Well, I mean, the number one best running back of all time, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's coming out this year, Barkley. He's like better than LT. They're already putting him in the Hall of Fame. Lamar Jackson ran for more yards.
More rushing yards last year than Barkley, yeah.
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 And he decided to throw the ball once in a while, too. Barkley never even threw it.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. And
I can't wait to see his speed at his pro day. I swear I hope you're wrong.
If you are in a Dynasty league, a non-Superflex Dynasty league, where Lamar Jackson goes at the 101 instead of Saquon Barkley, let us know. Because I cannot believe you're going to be paying the same price for Lamar Jackson. And granted, it's different position, whatever. I get it.
What do you think his value is in a Dynasty league, like an FFPC Dynasty league ball?
You know how some people are like, hey, FFPC, you need to get rid of kickers for fantasy.
Yeah, those people can suck it.
You know, but no, they cannot. I'm not going to say that. You know what I say to that?
Oh.
Kickers, get rid of the quarterback.
Great.
So I am not the guy to be talking to about where are you going to take a quarterback in a dynasty league.
That's pretty funny.
I already said that I wouldn't take until the third round. And in the dynasty leagues I play in, obviously running backs, receivers, tight ends are more valued than quarterbacks. I can't imagine taking him in the second round. Maybe a late second round, I could see it. But where I sit in the second round of my drafts, they're all early to mid-seconds. So I will be using that on running backs. Maybe not receivers after our previous discussion. But, I don't envision myself taking Lamar Jackson. I'm much more comfortable.
You're probably not going to take him at all.
Well, he probably won't be available. But I'll say this. I have, like in Blake Harrington Dynasty, for example, I have one quarterback in that league, Ben Roethlisberger, and I guarantee you that not all these quarterbacks are going to be drafted, in our rookie draft.
Right.
I'll probably just pick one of those guys up off the waiver wire, or if I have a fourth-round pick, which I think I do, I'll probably just get my backup there.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, not every league is like that.
Right.
I mean, I'm in a couple leagues, Carrington, another one as well. I think it's the Big Afton League, which was originally a Lou Tranquility League, where quarterbacks are just so devalued. People just could care less about them. But, I mean, I really think when I look at the value of him, I actually think he's probably worth something around the 107 to 110.
Maybe.
If you're talking about if he's going to start, right?
Yeah.
I'd be willing to take him in the mid-second, pretty confidently there. And maybe even a little, if I have an Andy Dalton-led team, maybe a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Actually, I do have one dynasty team. I have two quarterbacks on that team, Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton. So maybe there I will be looking at Lamar Jackson.
So, I mean,
that's one of the Kentucky ones, though. So if he's going to go, he might be the 102 in those leagues.
Yeah, Farrell, nice job on the rules there, buddy.
The Louisville action.
So I guess I would just look at the ADP and see where he's being drafted, and then reach above that to try and get him. Even in leagues where if I had Brady or something like that, for sure I'm trying to get him if I can.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on and talk about Dante Pettis here, the Washington receiver. He does not plan on going through the athletic testing during his school pro day tomorrow, this according to NFL.com. He says there's a certain way to do these drills to get the fastest time. It takes a lot of reps to get the technique down. He said he has not had enough time to get those reps in. 6'1", 192 pounds. He actually hurt his ankle in November, and it kept him from testing at the Combine. He says he can run a 4.37 40 when he's right, and he still wants to run for teams before the draft, but it will not be this weekend. The Rams and Buccaneers have scheduled visits with Dante Pettis. Your thoughts on Dante Pettis, Dave? Because we didn't hear about him. It wasn't at the Combine, but this is a guy that you've seen in a lot of industry mocks going in the second or third round.
I don't know a whole lot about his game, 6'1", 192, so he's a little thin. But I like his decision not to run. I think that's smart. I
choose not to run.
It's smart. I mean, why do poorly when you haven't had any chance to drill? All these other guys are going at, elite performance metrics, whatever. Any of these stupidly named places where all they do is performance testing and try and make you better and faster. He hasn't had that opportunity to do that, so I think he's making the right decision. So I kind of like his at least thought process, but I don't really know enough about him to really have a great opinion about him overall.
Stuart, too, in the chat room, part of the new Genesis, the Regenesis that we'll be covering live here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour in a couple of months. He says Pettis is very good. Pettis had a good quarterback, too, in Jake Browning the last couple of years at Washington as well. So certainly that has definitely helped him out. Although, you know who the last wide receiver was that was drafted from Washington, University of Washington, went 9th overall last year.
Ross.
And he might be playing cornerback this year.
So whatever.
So.
You know what? I'll say this. I'll take Dante Pettis wherever he's being drafted over a guy that's about the same size, height, weight, and speed, Calvin Ridley. I'll take him over wherever Calvin Ridley's going to be going.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So I'm also going to have him at the 105 or 104 or whatever, and I'll take Pettis at the 208.
If Calvin Ridley joins this group of first-round receivers that have busted, I'll just be like, you know what? I'll be like, I don't plan on drafting. I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to pat myself on the back for not taking Ridley because all the signs were there.
Yeah. What is he, 30? Okay, he's 24.
He might be older than that. Austin Hooper is getting some work in this offseason with his quarterback, Matt Ryan, at the team facility. We don't know exactly when it started, but it could have started as early as last Friday.
Ooh.
Going through an hour-plus throwing session. They've had multiple sessions since then to work on timing. And Hooper says he's actually going to be in Atlanta all offseason to work with Matt Ryan. Does this change your thoughts on Austin Hooper as a sleeper tight end this year for the third straight year?
I don't think so. For some reason, I don't like Hooper. I got offered a trade today, actually.
He's going at the 11:07 in redraft right now, behind guys like, I should say ahead. Okay, do a quick would you rather with Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper or Adam Shaheen?
That's interesting you mentioned that because my trade offer included, I have Shaheen. Someone offered me Hooper for Shaheen and a 2019 third. And I think I'm actually...
So wait. You would get Shaheen?
I would get Hooper. I have Shaheen, and he wanted Shaheen and a 2019 third for Hooper.
Totally would not do that.
I'm going to pass. Actually, I kind of like Shaheen and Nagy.
I'm telling you. Was it Evan Silva that tweeted that out? And we talked about it on this show?
Yeah.
He could be like a Travis Kelce light this year under Matt Nagy.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a Shaheen now. And keep my third, darn it.
I'm talking about for redraft, not Dynasty.
Yep.
Hooper or Jared Cook?
I'll take Hooper. I hate Cook.
I hate Cook too, but I like Cook better than Hooper. This is a guy, by the way.
Cook is the worst.
You know how I say I'm driving the bandwagon for certain guys. I'm the guy. I'm the guy in front of the cow catcher on the tracks, pushing the bandwagon back with Hooper this year because I was driving it last year. I'm pushing it back. Yeah, I'm trying to push it back. Like no, stop, guys. It's not gonna happen. Stop trying to make Hooper happen. It's not gonna happen. Austin Hooper or Charles Clay?
I'll take Clay.
I would take Hooper there, actually.
With Hooper, though,
Buffalo, they don't have a quarterback.
They'll dig one up.
And that's my fear. It's going to be the corpse of somebody else there.
It sucks if they lost 2,700 yards of passing.
I know.
Last year, and that's 62% completion.
It could be a rookie quarterback this year, which, granted, I guess he might
throw for 2,700 yards.
He might focus on Charles.
Leroy Corson gets over 2,800 yards in the NFL. All right.
Leroy Corson has better knees than Charles Clay does.
Yeah, Sanu is still more targeted than Hooper, and then Julio commands 170 some targets a year. So why
Freeman Coleman, you can lump in that too.
Exactly.
Okay, here's an interesting one: Austin Hooper or free agent to be Trey Burton.
Oh, that actually is kind of interesting. I might have to take Hooper, even though I kind of think Burton's intriguing.
Give me the unknown. I'm going to take Trey Burton there. Austin Hooper, Vince McDonald.
Hooper.
I agree. And Austin Hooper or Cameron Brate?
Hooper.
I'm going to take Brate after what we just heard from Clay Corcoran about O.J. Howard. Give me Cameron Brate.
I'm not a time splitter that's going to lose his job.
It's not going to be a time splitter if Clay Corcoran is accurate in his assessment of O.J. Howard.
When Cameron Brate went to Harvard, he's going to go into investment banking this year instead. He's just going to leave the NFL.
Here's what's going to happen. O.J. Howard's going to be cut. The Jets are not going to re-sign ASJ. They're going to sign O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard's going to be in the best shape of his life, and he's going to have 50 touchdowns called back this coming.
Is ASJ a free agent?
Yes, he is.
Maybe the Tampa re-signs him.
Would you rather have Austin Hooper or ASJ?
I'll take Spring Jenkins for sure.
ASJ is going 4 spots ahead of Austin Hooper right now.
Good. Smart.
It is smart. All right, let's move on and talk about the receivers in review, Dave. You have the list in front of you, I believe, allegedly.
What? Yeah, whatever.
All right, fantastic.
Are we still on?
Yes, we're still on. We're gonna make this
there
quick.
they are.
Yeah, there's that. So we went pretty deep. There's like 120 receivers. We'll not be talking about 120 receivers tonight. If you see something, say something. Otherwise, we're gonna go by the
is this a terrorist?
The rubric that I've put together here and talk about the wide receiver 3 last year. Dave didn't know if he was coming back this year, but he is. Larry Fitzgerald. And he's going as the wide receiver 21 in drafts this year.
It's just insane.
The number 3 receiver you can get at the end of the 4th round.
Oh my goodness, he doesn't have a quarterback. He might get a quarterback. Something tells me they're going to pick up a quarterback that's going to be able to play football and throw it to one of the best receivers ever to play the game.
Let me just give you a few of the guys that are going ahead of Larry Fitzgerald in drafts right now. Demaryius Thomas, Jordy Nelson. Repeat that, Jordy Nelson, Stephon Diggs, Josh Gordon, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Adam Thielen, Doug Baldwin, T.Y. Hilton, Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams. I mean, all those guys are going ahead, and other guys too are going ahead of Fitzgerald. I'd rather have Fitzgerald than a lot of those guys, Dave.
I don't know about a lot. I mean, there's actually some good names on that list, but
Jordy Nelson.
Invariably, Fitz he will outproduce him most.
Who would you rather have this year, Stephon Diggs or Larry Fitzgerald?
For just redraft?
Yes.
I guess I got to take Fitz because Fitz
I don't think it's close.
Yeah, Fitz is like the only guy because it's Diggs and Thielen. And then what's their quarterback situation looking like?
In Minnesota?
Yeah.
It's about to be looking a lot better. Because I'm going to retract my prediction of Kirk Cousins of the Broncos. I think he goes to the Vikings now.
Yes, they had 3 quarterbacks in Minnesota. Now they're going to get rid of all 3 of them and take someone else.
Tyreek Hill finished as the number 6 receiver last year, Dave. Kudos to you. You called it. You said, look, this guy needs to be going higher in drafts. He didn't. You reaped the rewards of Tyreek Hill last year.
That's right. And all the football dummies were totally wrong. And the regular people that draft, the ADP was right, and the football experts were complete idiots and were totally wrong. Let's just make sure that's clear.
There were some analysts.
He's going way too high. Should be drafted in the 9th round, 8th round. He always going in the 4th round. All the people who actually pay money to play fantasy were correct.
Couple of thoughts on this.
The experts, the dummies, they were wrong.
I'm going to bring up 3 things. A, not everybody who played fantasy football for money last year was in love with Tyreek Hill.
That's true.
B, not every analyst said that he should be going in the 9th round of fantasy drafts. C, I don't know any analyst that said Tyreek Hill should be going in the 9th round of fantasy drafts.
Oh, you know what? I can pull him off.
All right. Well, I'd love to see
time.
That. At Freezing Cold Takes Cold Takes Exposed on Twitter.
Sure, I should find that.
Okay. So my point with Tyreek Hill here is he's being drafted as the wide receiver 9 right now. Okay, there's a fluctuation there a little bit. He's 3 spots down. Fine.
You have a little bit of uncertainty with Mahomes.
Okay, but isn't his ceiling higher? This is a guy that's basically going the same spot he was last year, getting passes thrown to him by known, I'd rather stab my eyes with knitting needles than throw the ball downfield, Alex Smith.
I think that's incorrect.
And you have...
That statement right there is incorrect.
Is ADP... What? That Alex Smith doesn't like throwing downfield?
Correct. I think everyone obviously underrated Alex Smith last year. He played really well.
Yeah, that's true.
People have been so slow to recognize. It's like that his progression.
All right.
It's like the movie She's All That, right? The girl's got the painter overalls on. She's got the glasses. She's ugly. So this
is a false analogy.
The first
false
impression,
analogy.
And then she turns off hot in the end. And good gosh, she's still the nerd to him all the time. They went to high school for 4 years with this girl.
Rachel Lee Cook played the main girl, and She's All That. She was hot, okay? The first time I saw that movie, I'm like, I don't understand. Like this girl is this gorgeous chick with glasses, she took off her glasses and she's gorgeous. Yes, obviously that's gonna happen.
You're referring to Not Another Teen movies the way they did it.
No, I'm referring to She's All That. Well, both of them did it the same way, but Not Another Teen movie did it on purpose.
Which, by the way, Not Another Teen movie is obviously better than She's All That. It's
right.
a better movie than all
Captain America, by the way.
Yeah, it's a better movie than all the movies that imitated. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Alex Smith has never looked remotely hot from a fantasy perspective. His
stats were pretty hot last year.
Yes, they were, and that's what I'm saying. It's a false analogy because
he got paid like a hottie.
Yes, but Dave, the point I'm trying to make is up until last year, he never gave me remotely a fantasy erection. That is what I'm trying to say.
He's all that.
He turned out to be all that. That's true. I would have lost the bet that last year that you couldn't make Alex Smith.
He was actually a great waiver pickup for a lot of teams last year.
Fantastic.
I think Kurt's team might have picked him up.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, so the point is back to Mahomes. I think the fact is you have Mahomes is still a bit of uncertainty. With Alex Smith, if he was still there, you at least have you have the same guy throwing to the same guy with the same offense, the same fat walrus who's lost a little weight. Good for him. And
has he really?
I think he has.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you see him at the combine or something?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since last year.
He stopped eating out of the combine.
Well, there you go. Fantasy receiver last year, number 12, which makes him, as the kids like to call it, a WR1. Marvin Jones, Dave.
Oh.
And, of course, this year, 26 receivers are being drafted in front of him. He's not being drafted until the mid-6th round. His teammate, Golden Tate, who finished as wide receiver 14 last year, so almost a wide receiver 1, being drafted 3 receivers ahead of Jones. He's a wide receiver 24 and being drafted in the mid-5th round. Well, I don't understand. What's the downside of these two guys? Oh, okay. Detroit got a new coach. Okay, I get it. Oh, he's a defensive guy and he's smart. Well, how's that a downgrade?
Right.
Oh, well, they got a new tight end. No, Ebron's still there.
Is Ebron? I thought he was going to go.
They have to make a decision by Wednesday, okay? But the fact of the matter is, if they are shipping him out, I can't.
Ebron's so sucky. Who cares?
Yeah,
either
well,
way.
okay, but then the argument may be that the guy that's coming in for him is going to be an improvement. But
Well,
who's,
if it's Jimmy Graham, then yeah.
but who's I don't understand who's drafting these receivers this late, based on the assumption that Ebron's going to be gone and somebody else is going to be. What I'm trying to ascertain is why are these receivers being pushed down so much when it's Jim Bob Cooter still running the offense, Matthew Stafford still the quarterback? What's changed? What's going to be changing? That's what I don't get.
Well, I think, what's interesting is when you look at Marvin Jones, he was actually receiver 12, but he only scored 207 fantasy points, and Tate scored 201.
Right.
And there was a pretty good drop-off. Devontae Adams had 222, so top 11 were 222 plus.
Okay.
Those aren't impressive numbers. So I feel like you look at those numbers, and then you go all the way down. Let's go all the way down to receiver. Let's go down to Juju at receiver number 30.
Yeah.
He scored 162. Now that's a big difference, but how big really is it? A lot of times you can explain away that variation of 30, 40 points. Like, oh, he didn't play all year. Robert Woods didn't play all year. Kenny Stills didn't play all year. All those things.
Okay.
Some people can make these cases that other guys can get over the 200. I'm not saying.
All right. Here, but I'm just going to say this.
But Marvin Jones could do better too.
He was 45 points away from being the wide receiver 30.
That's true.
He was 15 points away from being the wide receiver 11.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just.
But if he scores 40 more points this year, he's a wide receiver 6 or 7. Using those numbers.
That's also true. Didn't we just say that the wide receiver scoring was down last year?
It was. It's been down the last 2 years, actually.
Okay.
And Romovic made the point that it's because tight end scoring has been up, and receiving running backs they're catching more passes.
Right. Tight end scoring.
Passing yards are similar, actually.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, the running back class this year is baller. And I think the tight end class is actually pretty good, so I don't know how much that's going to change.
It's all right. Well, we'll see. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 24 last year, being drafted as wide receiver 34 this year. He is going in the early 8th round. You've already said that the receiver to own in Los Angeles, well, at least for the Rams, is Cooper Kupp.
I agree.
Why are people hating on him?
I don't know. He's white. You know what?
It all comes back to race.
He's white. I'll stop. That's it. What else is the other reason? He's a good receiver. He's really good. As a receiver, as a rookie, he's put up those numbers.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why he can't improve on those numbers. He's a good young quarterback.
Right.
I don't see any reason.
Robert Woods
That's a value.
had a pretty good season last year. He finished as wide receiver 28, and he missed some time.
He did, but I look at Robert, again, I might be wrong. I very well could be. Robert Woods has been in the NFL for a number of years. He had not done that well in the past. I don't know. I'm not a big believer in Robert Woods as being all that great. Whereas Kupp, I think his route running is going to improve. Granted, Kupp came into the NFL as an older rookie, but his route running will improve. I think that he's just going to be a more savvy player. I don't see any reason why he can't improve or do better. And now you got rid of Sammy Watt.
Yeah, think about all those non-targets that will be now available.
Didn't catch the got overthrown.
Think about all the times they didn't throw to Watkins that is going to be available to Cooper Kupp. So now here's the one I really wanted to talk about, and this I think is just absolute fantasy gold. Kenny Stills finishes as the 26th receiver last year, Dave. That's wide receiver 26.
Yeah.
He is going as the wide receiver 48.
Wow.
In drafts right now. Oh, hold on. I'm not done. I want to make this full point. Let me get out the litany. Wide receiver 48.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You can have him in the 13th round. The 13th. Take a kicker in the 12th and get the wide receiver 26 from last year in the 13th. This is ADP that was before Jarvis Landry was traded to the Cleveland Browns. The only other semi-decent receiver they have there is a guy that you would not use the modifier semi-decent to describe, and that's Devontae Parker.
I would get rid of the word decent. I would say he's a semi-wide receiver.
He's a semi-football player. Kenny Stills, man. What the hell? This is another guy that should be we talk about Marquise Goodwin. He should be pushed up. Kenny Stills should be pushed up. What's going on? Is it the fact that, now we'll bring this up, and I don't know how much this plays into fantasy players when they're drafting, but there was talk that Stills could be cut because the Dolphins were one of the worst cap situations in the NFL, and Stills signed that extension. So there's a possibility that he could be gone, but I don't think there's a possibility they're going to cut him now. They don't have him to be left.
So obviously they should keep Stills because they shouldn't cut him, so they're going to cut him.
Because it's the Dolphins. Are they the new Browns?
Yeah, they're trying to be the new Browns.
Trying to be the new Browns.
And the NFL,
Leonte Carew is still there, and that guy's done nothing either.
The problem with the Dolphins is they think they're an NBA franchise, or they think they're an MLB franchise where you tank. They all tank in those sports.
Yeah.
In the NFL, you don't do that.
Well,
because of the parity.
The Browns and the Jets would differ.
Well, they don't tank to that extent. It's not
the Jets tried to tank last year and failed.
Yeah, they were 7-9 or 6-10
or something like that.
I should have bet that over. I missed on that.
Yeah. What was that, like 3.5?
It was some insanely low number.
Yeah.
Football Outsiders had it right, too.
Yeah.
They had the over.
Okay, anything, I don't want to put you on the spot here because there's 120 receivers here. I don't know.
If they take a rookie wide receiver of the Dolphins, that's actually probably a good thing for Stills. Because a rookie wideout probably won't do a whole lot.
I can't imagine they would.
Pressure.
And they could be taking a rookie quarterback this year, too. So it could be maybe it's just a team in flux. Maybe everybody recognizes that the Dolphins are not a good organization and they don't want to have any shares whatsoever. It's not like Devontae Parker is being drafted high either, by the way. This could be, and honestly, this it has a lot to do with Landry being traded. But Devontae Parker, Dave, is not being selected until the 11th round. So the Dolphins, after the Landry trade today, and I can't back this up, but they could be in FFPC ADP, they could be the team that is having their number one receiver drafted the latest right now.
Yeah, that sounds all right.
No Dolphins receivers going off the board until the 11th round. Now, that's going to change. How much? We shall see. It's all about the future. We're looking forward because this show is now done. I want to thank Clay Corcoran for coming on tonight, Mr. What did Lexus call him in the chat? The fantasy football miracle worker?
Yeah.
Fantasy football miracle worker joined us tonight. That was a lot of fun. Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and of course all of you I want to thank. We will be back next week as well, 10-9 Central. I want to remind everybody to sign up for those best ball dynasties, superflexes, double ups, classics, everything we got going on at myffpc.com. Remember, set your clocks forward. I know the FFPC email. I screwed it up for the second straight year. I said, time to turn back the clock. No, dummy. You set it forward. Bring ahead. Bring forward. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. So your daylight savings time weekend where you set your clocks forward.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dogs stay on the porch, blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from?
Last thing I'll mention from the chat room tonight, Lexus Aces Rebels mentioned that Cortland Sutton winding up in Miami would be a fantabulous place for him. So if you, Dave Gerzak, are running the Dolphins, and you're deciding between Baker Mayfield and Cortland Sutton, who are you taking?
I'm taking Mayfield if I'm deciding between those two.
If it's you, right? Now, if it's the Dolphins,
they're going to take Sutton.
No, they're not going to take Sutton. And you know what?
Sutton's not going to go in the same spot as Mayfield. He's not a top 10 pick.
And they're not going to take Mayfield either.
Probably not.
No.
Mayfield's going to do well in the NFL, so why would they take him?
No, they're going to take Kalen Ballage. Because it's the Dolphins.
Sutton had that amazing 3-cone, 6'5'7". His size is crazy.
Starting to like him, but not the Dolphins.
I don't like Ballage because his name sounds like Karen. So
it reminds me of Cabbage.
Yeah, Kalen Cabbage. Karen, yeah, it's like a Cabbage Patch Kid. I don't like him.
I just don't like
Kalen and Karen.
I know St. Patrick's Day coming up. I don't like Cabbage. I don't like Ballage.
All right, no Cabbage, no Kalen, no.
Horrible ending to the show. All right, thanks for listening. All right, I got to edit it now.